Coming out of a mixed orientation marriage. Welcome to the Priceless Podcast. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Priceless Podcast. As I said in the beginning, with me, two guests that you might remember from previous podcasts. It's Carol Shepherd from Scotland and Arno Steen Andreasen from Denmark. We're going to have a conversation together about our joint experience or a similar experience with being or having been in mixed orientation marriage and coming out of a mixed orientation marriage?
My name's Carol Shepherd. I'm from Scotland in the United Kingdom. I was married to a man for 24 years and I have 3 older children. I forgot to say that I'm 50. I probably forgot that on purpose. I identify as bisexual.
Well, my name is Arno. I live in Copenhagen. I'm 56 years old. I was married to a woman for 30 years, and I have 2 adult children. And I identify as gay.
And my name is Mihael, and I'm the host of this podcast. I'm 43 years old, soon 44, and I have 2 children. I was married to a woman for 12 years. I'm gay. If some of the people watched my interview, I was very pious, and I was hoping that I was actually bisexual and that I could make a marriage with a woman work. I think that I entered this whole marriage, mixed orientation marriage, with quite naive. I was still in this whole Christian mindset of it's possible to change and pray the gay away or just hope that it won't be that strong and that I will manage to live.
I had actually met my husband at the age of 19 and was together with him for a few weeks and then left him because of my same-sex feelings. I felt it wasn't the right thing to do. And then he came back into my life about 5 years later and we did get together. And at that point, I was very involved in a vineyard fellowship, which is fairly fundamentalist. And I was told by people, he's the right one for you. So married at 25 as a virgin and then got a bit of a shock, to be honest with you. But my husband knew all along about these feelings. I was always very honest with him, and there was an element of experiment.
Well, I come from a non-Christian background, so I did have some sexual experiences before marriage, and that was with a man. So from a very young age, I did have some experiences with a man, but because of my age, it also means that my teenage years was the AIDS crisis. So I felt very much it was a curse upon my life. So I thought, well, gay means AIDS means die young. I did never expect it to be more than 25 years old. So when I become a Christian when I'm 17, I'm very much again think I want to get rid of this. So the whole thing of pray the gay away was very much again in my mindset as well. And that's what I believe, that this curse will be lifted from my life so I could live. To make it work, I think we did do a really good, we did very, very well for those 30 years. And we loved each other, we love our kids, and we wanted to make it work. But of course, also for me, it became a lot of therapy, a lot of deliverance, a lot of accountability partners, anything else to try to change this thing in me. And the whole thing of if you want it enough, God will change it. But at some point, my body started to break down. And then I had to start to look at what is it I'm doing.
The prescriptions for antidepressants were going up year on year. And I was just exhausted I felt very suffocated, that a whole large part of me when your GP tells you to get out of a marriage, you start taking it more seriously than, sounds awful, but more seriously than religious people telling you that.
With coming to the point of me personally, where I was really considering of taking my life. Throughout my marriage, me and my ex-wife, we were very good friends. I'm thinking of different ways how to engage you into supporting this podcast and maybe other projects that Intero Center does. And some people say, be more adventurous. I don't think this is such a good idea. So if you want to support this podcast, click the link in the podcast description. You can support us through a direct bank wire, or you can use Patreon and support us on a monthly basis.
It took me 4 years to do it because he was my best friend and we were friends for a long time. I really, really miss him. But I don't think it's because he's a male. I just think we always had a brilliant, could talk our way out of a paper bag, you know, we could talk out about anything, but I know I did the right thing. You can't sell your soul out like that, and you can't lock someone else into a relationship that you know is inauthentic.
So there's also for me the whole thing of well, how do you role model both for your own children, for the church movement I was leading, beside also how am I going to be fair to my spouse? Because again, there's no doubt that we are incredibly good friends, but also emotionally, I was consistently attracted to men and not to women. For me, just like I've heard quite a few other people have described it, that even though none of us really want divorce, for many have almost felt it like a salvation experience. You suddenly feel freer, liberated, can be more yourself, get color to your life. I'm also sad about it, but I'm also experiencing the liberation and the freedom and the emancipation and the love of God in a way that I didn't before. If God wanted marriage and if God wanted this way, why would he not do anything after 30 years of marriage?
When I finally relaxed, I actually started to have all these different illnesses and my body started just, it was very weak. I was so sick, ended up in hospital several times.
After 29 years of marriage, I was revising my first book. I was away for 3 weeks in a place where nobody spoke English or Danish, so it's been like a hermit for 3 weeks. And in the middle of that period, I just felt God was saying to me, I'm not going to heal you because you're not broken. You've been faithful to your family and to your church. I went back and started to really read up on theology and some of that again after to try to develop discernment. Was it just my personality or was it God? What was it? And that made it for me. I thought, if that is so, if God accepts me as who I am, then I can accept me as well. And I shall stop kind of distorting the image of God in my life.
I knew I had to do something, whether I stayed or went, but I couldn't just swallow it back anymore. I don't think anyone could have tried harder to have made a marriage work. I desperately wanted it to work because of the kids and because I loved him, and I still love him. Along with my GP, I went to see my brother, and he said, oh, the advice I can give you is that if it's not working, it's not working. The quicker you get out of it, the quicker you'll feel better. Just do it. It was about the only really serious conversation we've had, and I just knew he was right. I've made myself ill. Very ill. I mean, I was 4 stone lighter than I am now, which is, 25 kilos lighter than I am now. My grandmother's not allowed to know why, so my grandmother to this day thinks I had an affair.
I'm scared about all the people that I'll be hurting by getting a divorce and by coming out. And he asked me the question, how are you so sure that you're not hurting them by staying? And this was kind of the right question to ask. I was living the life that was expected of me. I was constantly living in fear of what if someone finds out. that's actually where I communicated to my ex-wife
Mhm.
afterwards that I have to do it.
I think most people were resigned to the fact that it wasn't going to work, even though they'd been advising me to stay with it. So most people then said, okay, you've made a decision, I'll support you. You know, it was enormously hard to explain to my husband. And a friend said to me, you weren't put on this earth to please other people. And that really resonated with me as well. I was living my whole life to please my parents, my husband, the vicar. It was all about what other people would say.
There were people that I grew up with and who were totally ignoring me. Some people that, I worked with a lot and grew up with were pretending they just walked past me without saying hi or giving me their hand. I had a lot of understanding for all of those people, but I think I took a very poor job of really taking care of myself.
Or we were thrown out of the church within 48 hours by our co-pastors. I still fight sometimes the anger of how people actually treated us. If the church get angry with me, that's okay, as long as they then protect my wife and my children. How do you get rid of that anger of how people have harmed my family? I often stayed quiet. I didn't do so much, but it also meant that actually anger over the years kept on building up in me. I think, again, when it comes to myself and my own journey and healing, it has definitely been a longer journey because I've accepted in many ways that people walked all over me, and I still have to learn to forgive every day people for the discrimination that I'm facing.